So, I want to say that what I'm saying isn't truth that you have to accept, because I'm going through a process and my perspective is going to evolve as my process evolves. So, things will have to change for me at some point as I continue to grow in my practice of understanding myself, my environment, and how I am connected to that. So I recently was on Instagram and I was reading about someone's perspective about COVID-19 and the response to COVID-19, and they also tied that into global warming. And I think it's important that instead of always trying to understand things from the macro perspective, it is useful to understand things from the micro perspective and then work your way towards the macro. And what I mean by that is understanding yourself, understanding how you work, and then relating that to the grander scheme or to the bigger picture of how other things work. And I like to start with myself because I am connected to myself. I am here with myself every day. From the moment I came out of the birth canal, the secure womb of my mother, to this womb, I've been with myself. But if you're not interested in that, then maybe study nature. But going back to the self, and for example, global warming, I don't think anyone who studies life themselves denies that global warming is happening, that the planet is going through changes. The planet is evolving. The reason that we, the ego, contributes the planet's change to our decisions is because we think we're so big and we're not. It's the ego who says, I'm so big that I am influencing this in such a negative space that I'm causing cause and effect. What is happening with the planet. But if you look at yourself and see your evolution, the changes that you yourself have gone through, you're not stagnant, you're not static, you're an evolving being. The planet is an evolving being, just like you. And yes, we are affected by our environment, but more importantly, we have the information, we have the energetic ability to overcome what our environment does to us, the influence of our environment. And when you think of that and you connect with the planet and see it as a being who is evolving as you are, you understand that the planet is able to heal itself from our for some of us, big influence on the mood of the planet. And by mood, I mean the changes of the planet. And I am not denying or excusing the fact that we trash the planet. because we are disconnected from it. If we were connected to the planet the way that we should be or need to be, we would understand that we need to treat it well. But we are also disconnected from ourselves. Many of us are disconnected from ourselves. We take in information, we take in sustenance that does not do good for our body. And instead of enjoying what the planet gives you, we sometimes make things move away from the natural process and try to control things again, the ego. And again, I'm not saying that this is bad or good. I'm saying that when we understand ourselves, truly understand ourselves, we are able to connect with our environment and understand our environment in such a way that we realize the connection that we have. And so then we make decisions that keep that connection viable and alive and in alignment with our journey, with our growth, as well as in alignment with the planet, the being's growth. We consume in a way that is not detrimental. We consume in a way that does not stroke the ego. Because it is my belief, and I've come to this belief, and again, the caveat to beliefs are they evolve and change as you evolve and change. So my current belief is that we are constantly over-consuming. We are deep in the ego consciousness. And again, I'm not saying ego consciousness is bad. What I'm saying is ego consciousness makes us more materialistic. It drives us to be materialistic. And this planet is material, but it is also spiritual. And not to go away from the more critical analysis of this, but to move towards more of a spiritual analysis of this. Ego causes us to forget that we are spiritual. And so when we forget that, we become more materialistic and we get into dualistic natures. And that dualistic nature causes an inconsistent relationship with ourselves and the planet. And then we get into perspectives where instead of looking at the problem, or instead of looking at the circumstances in a way of changing them, we blame and we allow the vultures to guide us. And by vultures, the ego consciousness, to guide us into a material way where we entrap ourselves into more material. For example, when we understand that we are connected to the planet is evolving in the same way that we evolve. And we evolve, we get older, our body changes, our cells change. The same way the planet's body changes, its cells change, its constructs changes. We understand that we have to make different choices, but those choices do not connect with making people feel bad for their choices, does not connect in having a carbon tax. It's only getting more into materialism, blaming each other, saying you're right, you're wrong, this is the way we should do it. It gets more into materialism, and the ego comes in and says, look at them. This is my time. I can do something with this. I can create something with this that is more material, instead of I can create something with this that is in alignment with the spiritual self, love, and understanding the connection that we have with the planet. And then we get these things where we have laws and we have people disliking each other because this one does this one does that, this one doesn't see this one's perspective, and we meme it to death. We talk about it to death, yet we miss the bigger point of understanding ourselves and how we're connected to this planet. And I can go on and on about this, but I'm only sharing with you my perspective, but you will have to make your own connection by understanding yourself and how you connect to this planet and how you connect with your environment. I cannot tell you my truth is your truth. I can only pose a question that you will seek to answer for yourself. Now, with regards to COVID-19, people are seeing this as being prepared. And I'm not sure at this point if this is an issue of being prepared. To me, this seems like a bigger issue. So when we're talking about understanding ourselves, what happens when your body gets an outside invader? There's a process, there's a system in place where your body releases white blood cells, and in those white blood cells you have macrophages, you have all these different types of different white blood cells. I think there's like 3, but don't quote me on that. It's been a while since I've been in science class. But there's the ones that attack the cells that are mutating within your body, and they're the ones that attack the invaders. So there's a system in place. Your body does not cease to function because there is an invader. And if it does, your body gives you clear indications that it's time to slow down, to rest, so it can heal itself. So, how does this relate to COVID-19? So, for COVID-19, I myself never really understood from a spiritual perspective, as well as an ego consciousness. Maybe from an ego consciousness, I understood it more as an attempt of something bigger with regards to the ability to control a society, to gauge where a society is. That's where I understood it. And from an ego consciousness, it's like I understand this is where the society is. How can I control it more? How can I take advantage of this situation? And a spiritual perspective is, I understand what's happening. How can I teach? How can the society grow from this and understand itself and its evolution from an individual perspective as well as a collective consciousness? So when you have states telling you that you can't leave your home based on information that seems murky, when you have doctors giving information that seems inconsistent across the board, across everywhere, it's like the question becomes, what is going on when we've completely shut down the economy? And from an ego consciousness, there's always something to be gained. From a spiritual consciousness, there's always something to be gained. The planet shuts down, the earth is resting. If you think of us coming to a point where the planet has to heal itself because we've become the mutagen, or the cell that is mutating out of control, in the sense that we are no longer, or we haven't been connected to the planet, so we've been abusing it. We haven't been connecting to our bodies, so we've been abusing our body. And our body's like, nope, sit down, go take a break, because you're in the corner for now. We can think of it as that. And so we're in the corner. The body says, you're in the corner. Now, with COVID-19, someone else outside of you came to tell you that you're in the corner, without your body or anything giving you an indication that you needed to be in the corner. And it went on and it went on until you're like, why am I still in the corner? What's going on? And there's no denying that people are sick, people are dying. The question is, what is the overreach about? And besides the overreach, if there is something that happens like that again, are we prepared? And being prepared is, are we prepared for the government to overreach again? Or are we prepared as individuals in understanding that we have to learn to listen to our bodies? We have to learn to listen to our connections with our environment and what it's telling us, both from an ego consciousness and a spiritual perspective. What is the opportunity of learning here? What do we need to learn so we do not repeat this again? Could this have been done a different way, where people didn't need to lose their jobs? Or if this happens again, do we have a society that can take care of itself in the sense that it can interact with its environment and feed itself? Or do we have a society that's dependent on government to provide them with everything? And if the government decides to take away what it's providing you, can you manage? Can you survive? That is the question that COVID-19 is asking you to process, to think about. If your body gets an invader, can you survive? Do you know how to survive? Do you know the things that you need to do in order to heal yourself? Yes, it's nice to have help. Yes, it's nice to have a support system, a structure. But how dependent are you on that structure that you can no longer be sustainable? Or how much of your sovereignty are you willing to give up to have that support system? What is the worth of it for you? And by support system, if we're thinking about our bodies, like, when do you say, I'm going to let my body handle this, versus let me just pop a bunch of medication into my body so my body no longer knows how to deal with invaders. It's constantly being dependent on me to feed it an outside source. All right, so I hope this was coherent. I hope if you find it helpful that you will share it with people. And again, this is my process. This is my truth. It doesn't have to be yours. I only ask you to consider what your truth is. Take care.